Benjamin Cole thing and who
Okay.
hired him and how you guys, just speak to that.
Well, I mean, obviously, I was made aware of some comments that he made on his social media that are offensive to me, I think indefensible, and when I sat down with him, it was a pretty short conversation. He offered his resignation, I accepted it, and I'm not going to tolerate that type of language from anybody in my office, certainly someone who handles communications. And people that know me know of my belief system and my care and treatment of people of all walks of life. And that's who I've been from the day I entered politics, the way I was raised. So it's unfortunate. And so when you have a team of employees, you count on them to exercise good judgment, and clearly in this case, he did not.
Had he ever showed any indications of his line of thinking
No,
before?
he's never said anything like that around me, my chief of staff, or anyone in our office, and so it was quite a surprise for me.
What was the timeline of events between you learning about it and him giving his resignation?
Yesterday. So sometime yesterday morning, my chief of staff forwarded me the I don't know if it was an article or a blog post, and said, you need to look at this. My schedules are always pretty busy, so I had committee hearings and appointments to keep, and then as soon as we were done voting yesterday at 1 o'clock, I had a 2 o'clock flight back here to Illinois. I met with him, and that was our first conversation about it, our last conversation, and when he offered his resignation, and I accepted it.
Talk about how checking the background of potential staff applicants works, and the extent to which this might change that for the future for employees.
Well, yeah, I mean, clearly some of the comments were made before he was hired, some of them were made after he was hired, but I'm not a voyeur type person. I don't go and, to this day, I don't monitor all my staff's social media accounts. Usually I'm the only one who gets scrutinized on their social media accounts. So, but it's in our employee handbook. I mean, before anybody gets hired, they're asked to read an employee handbook that we put together. It's unique to our office. They sign that they've read it, and in that employee handbook it talks about, what you put on social media is a reflection of the congressman in our office, and we make that a point. So, I mean, clearly he didn't abide by that, and I think it's why he realized that it was a mistake and he needed to go.
So were you friends with him on Facebook?
No. I don't have a personal Facebook account, so I only have the one you all see. You're all my friends.
It's been a fairly tough week as far as politics go, and this is your first time home to the district. Do you feel like you have some rectifying to do with your constituents? I mean, how are you going to talk to them after, the story about your office and the story about your staff member? And I saw something else about a foreclosure today, but I mean, do you feel like there's a message you have to get out?
Well, I think the good news is my constituents know me, and they know my character, and they know what type of person I am. And so when it comes to the issue with my staff member, they know that that's not representative of who I am and what I think. And I think what they would expect of me is what I've done, which is take corrective action and hold people in my organization accountable for their behavior. With regards to my red walls, clearly, I'll be the first to say that could have been handled much better. Just as I'm talking to all of you, I've always been one to engage the press. Sometimes, some would argue too often and too open with the press. But, I wasn't there when the Washington Post reporter walked into my office. And, I would just say that my office could have handled it better. And certainly my congressional office is open to my constituents, will always be open to my constituents. My last congressional office that I was in for 4 years in the Cannon Building, I hosted the Farm Bureau, and thousands of constituents in that office for 4 years. And thousands more of my constituents will be hosted in this office. So I think the kerfuffle, if there is one, over that was just, you all are respectful. We're here, we're talking, you ask a question, I answer it. When you walk into an office, you whip out your iPhone and you start taking pictures. My staff freaked out, overreacted, and, made what probably wasn't much of a story into a much more of a story, probably at my personal expense. So it is what it is, but it's. I mean, there's nothing to hide. There, once she's done decorating my office, people will be in it. I mean, that's what happens with your offices. But I think if there's a regret I have, it's that I wasn't there to meet, interacting with this reporter, because I think it would have probably ended differently, or the result would have been differently. But as far as when I'm home, I think my constituents have been very supportive. I mean, I haven't been downstairs, but I understand there's about 80 farmers this morning, and I anticipate that most of the farmers here want to talk to me about ag issues. So I'll take any questions they've got. But I've got, ag is the biggest industry in my district, and I think the reason I would submit why I've been reelected overwhelmingly each time I've run is because at the end of the day, I've delivered for the people of my district. And on par, I think that's what people want to make sure you're doing when they elect you. And I work very hard. My schedule is 7 days a week. I'm working today, I'm working Saturday, I'll be working Sunday, I'll be working Monday. We're back voting on Tuesday. And so, any human being is not perfect. I'm not perfect. And certainly, I've had better weeks in my political career. And I'm hoping that that this is hoping that things get better next week.
Aaron, to add on to this week, Blue News Review is out with a article that you sold a house in 2012 to a donor for maybe $230,000 more than it was worth. Are you familiar with that, and what do you have to say about it?
I would just say that his article is factually inaccurate on a number of fronts, and I'm disappointed that he didn't do his due diligence. So I would just say that, the house was listed for 4 years. It was a spec home that I completed before I was even elected to Congress. Mm-hmm. And, the realtor who had it listed, I mean, it was shown to people for 4 years. And so, I'm not going to go through chapter and verse what's wrong in his article, but first and foremost, he claims that there weren't other homes in the neighborhood sold that were more, and there were. And the comps per square foot in terms of the value of the home was right in line with what everything was selling at that time. And so, probably the most important thing is I never spoke to the buyer. So, I mean, the realtor is the one who showed the house, and so, there's nothing there. But I think, given what's all transpired this week, apparently, I'm the punching bag.
Who was the realtor? Was it local?
Yeah, Linda Keppel.
Okay.
Who I think, for people that are in real estate, know she's a pretty respectable person. And so I called her just to give her a heads up that this guy, and she was quite offended that somebody would be suggesting. But again, I don't think, welcome to my world. I mean, it's so.
So in the meantime,
Yeah.
222 Detweiler Drive has
Yeah.
been foreclosed upon. It is on the market.
Yeah.
It would have required an additional order to vacate be issued for you to have had to have moved. Are you planning to move in the near term?
Well, I've spoken to the bank who owns it. I rent a carriage house on the property, and they've told me that until they have a buyer and work that out, that I should, I stopped paying the former landlord, and now I'm paying the bank. And so, if they tell me that they've got a buyer, then I will move out. But at this point, what they've told me is you just pay us, and, so that's what I've been doing.
So it's clean. And
Yeah.
you have a contract with the bank PNC, I believe it is. No.
Well, I don't have a contract with the bank. Had a contract with or I had a lease with the former owners, but tenant laws are you can't, if you're in an apartment building and it's foreclosed upon, you don't just get kicked out. So, but I mean, my message then was, look, I'm not going to be a difficult tenant certainly if somebody buys the home and they don't want me in it, I'm their member of Congress. I'm not gonna be a squatter. So, yeah,
Was there ever a time in this process that there was some concern about that being an implication in the whole matter? Squatting, that is.
No. You mean they thought I was gonna just stay there or what?
No, that there was some gray time in the territory of the foreclosure, because that foreclosure proceeding started in what, 2010?
Yeah.
And you moved in like 2011, maybe before that, I don't know.
No. I don't know the exact dates, but I moved in after I was elected to Congress. I sold my home on Melbourne because it was just too much for me. I'm single. I have to hire someone to mow my lawn, rake my leaves, get my mail. You know this, right? And so I put it on the market, and then that's when I rented this. That was the first year I was in office, so that would have been 2009. So I've been there ever since. And then,
So is it weird being on that big property that it's huge, right?
Yeah.
And like you and the crickets, right? I mean, that's gotta be kind of strange.
well, if there's any, what I would say to that is I'm not there much. So obviously, the 680 square feet that I have is all I need, and sometimes more than what I need, because when I'm home, I'm not home. I mean, I'm out with all of you. So, that's the reason I rent a one-stall carriage house in D.C. So I'm in like 280 square feet out there. My parents think that's hilarious, but I don't entertain in my house. I'm not around, very often. So,
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for taking
Broadly speaking, you picked up any lessons, any thoughts from this week on how to change anything in your office, your staff's conduct, your own approach to
started with my
business going
communications
forward?
guy. I mean, like I said, I'm not attempting to throw anyone under the bus here. I would just simply say clearly things on Monday could have been handled better. And obviously the behavior on social media was completely unacceptable. And so he's gone. And so I think, moving forward, making sure you have somebody strong in that arena is important. And that's what I would change.
Would he have been gone if it wasn't for the Facebook posts?
Well,
If it was just on Monday?
Look, I would just say that what happened has happened. I'm not going to guesstimate about what the recourse was, but clearly you are all in the media. You probably all scratch your head and said, gee, why did it go down that way? So, this isn't like unique to me, I don't think. So whether I would replace somebody over that, I don't know, but a lot happened in 5 days. So, and at the end of the day, I respect him for offering his resignation and recognizing that we needed to part ways.
Is
So-
there an image problem?
Aaron needs to get to this event.